looking to get elected president and vice president, and as a team, hey, we're gonna take a look at this legislation, and if it accomplishes the notion of lower costs and as good or better health care, count on the signature.
So is Obamacare out, or is it in and modified?
I'm going to assume that Republican proposals accomplish that. If the proposals don't accomplish that, then I'm not on board.
Another question. Emily Laser, she works in international development, is leaning toward voting for you, Governor Johnson. Emily.
Governor Johnson, on your website you state that a woman's right to choose is the law of the land, and that if a woman wants to exercise that right, she should be able to do so without being subject to persecution or denied healthcare access. However, states like Texas continuously put laws in place that restrict abortion services as well as clinics. As a libertarian, what do you view as the federal government's role in ensuring a woman's right to choose in every state?
Well, what people don't understand right now is the law of the land. The law of the land currently is not Roe v. Wade, it's Casey versus Planned Parenthood, and the law of the land is that a woman has the right to have an abortion up to the point of viability of the fetus, and the Supreme Court has defined viability of the fetus as sustaining the life of the fetus outside of the womb, even if by artificial means. That's the law of the land. We're not looking to change the law of the land in any way. And bottom line, what a difficult decision. Can there be a more difficult decision in anyone's life other than, and I'm talking about the woman now who's facing abortion, than that decision? But that's a decision that should lie strictly with the woman involved.
But I think it's okay for the government to be involved in ensuring clinic access because that's guarding a fundamental constitutional right of the individual. So that's not the nanny state. That's good government, not bad government.
That winds up being the follow for Emily's question, I think. Emily, tell me if I'm wrong, which is you say or want the government out of your life that way, so it's choice. But does the government have a role in protecting that right, as the governor just suggested? Because that might not be the pure libertarian view, but it may be more along what I'm hearing from you two. Does the government have a role in protecting the right to choose that you say you hold inviolate?
Well, back to the law of the land, perhaps, Billy, you can take off on that a little bit, but the law of the land, I stated it, and we're not looking to change the law of the land, and fundamentally, look, a woman's right to choose, and Planned Parenthood, I think Republicans, really, they alienate a lot of people when they talk about defunding Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood does a lot of good, and that starts with women's health.
People sometimes say to me, you know, why should the government say that equality of marriage, gays and lesbians being able to marry, is the law of the land, and isn't that the nanny state? No, not at all. That's the Constitution telling you that marriage equality is dictated by the Due Process Clause and the Equal Protection Clause. That's not the government. So I think that's a canard to say that the government should have no role in safeguarding the constitutional right.
Now, let's go to another question from Amanda Lindemann that kind of touches on the outer parameters of this discussion we're having on this issue in particular. She lives in New York, currently undecided. Amanda.
Good evening. Thank you for coming this evening and taking my question. Do you pray and do you believe in God?
Who's the question?
I have to admit to praying once in a while, and yes, I do believe in God.
Governor?
Same on both. Same on both.
What do you want people to know about you in terms of religion? One, I mean, is the answer it's none of your business, or do you go to church? Do you ascribe to a particular religious philosophy?
I was raised a Christian. I do not attend church, and if there's one thing that I've taken away from Christianity, do unto others as you would have others do unto you.
Why don't you go to church?
I don't.
I ask you as a suffering Catholic. You know what I mean? The question just comes up.
I'm one of those that just the God that I speak to is not doesn't have a particular religion.
Another question, shall we? Paul Jost. Paul's a real estate investor from Miami Beach. He's a lifelong Republican, but he will not support Donald Trump, he says, and he's leaning towards supporting you gentlemen. Sir.
Thank you. Governors, the presumptive Republican nominee has said that he wants to build a big, huge, very expensive wall on our border with Mexico. He also wants to deport 11 million undocumented residents. Do you agree with this plan? And if not, what do you plan to do to defuse this very emotional situation?
Well, I find both of his statements just incendiary, and I am speaking as a border state governor. The deportation of 11 million illegal immigrants is really based in misinformation. Building a fence across the border borders on insanity. We should make it as easy as possible for somebody that wants to come into this country and work to be able to get a work visa. I'm not talking about a green card, I'm not talking about a citizenship, but a work visa that should entail a background check and a social security card so that applicable taxes get paid. They are not taking jobs that U.S. citizens want. They're hard-working individuals. The reason for the 11 million illegal immigrants is because there are jobs that exist in this country and they can't get across the border legally, so they cross illegally.
And that's not the limit of the really unreasonable foreign policy proposals by the presumptive Republican nominee. The notion of having Japan and South Korea have access to nuclear weapons is crazy in a world where nuclear proliferation is the #1 threat to the security of the world. The notion that he's going to impose huge penalties on Mexico and China at will violates our obligations under treaties and international agreements like the World Trade Organization. You cannot be president of the United States and talk like that. You cannot even be a candidate for president of the United States and talk like that.
And let me for a second, how's the deportation of 11 million illegal immigrants going to work in my home state, New Mexico, where the population is 48% Hispanic? Is this going to be a knock on the, well, it's going to amount to a knock on the door by the federal government. They come to my door, oh, gee, you're the former governor. I guess we won't search your house. But the next door they go to is statistically going to be Hispanic, and they're going to have to be papers produced. And I'm just telling you, this is incendiary.
Governor, you've gone beyond incendiary. You've gone beyond bad politics. You recently likened Trump's immigration policies to what happened in Nazi Germany.
Sure did.
Why?
I think that the Republican presumptive nominee has succeeded in tapping into the very worst political traditions of the United States and other countries. The amount of fear engendered of in Europe with the knock at the door that Governor Johnson mentions, and Frank hiding in the attic, hoping no noise will alert the Nazis below, they're directly